what you have said about uh, Paul teacher's presentation being like high school um, rings a bell. Um, I had a real sad experience where I was writing the advanced levels. So I was asking myself, how comes I'm going to write advanced level again? Advanced levels in high school. And the fun part of it is that uh, my exam papers were sort of lost due to some carelessness or something like that. So I was very worried. I said, but why are my papers, why is my script, why are they not seeing my script? What kind of carelessness could have caused my my exam scripts to be lost, not to be placed well. So I was wondering about what I was wondering what this dream really means. Then I've got a clue now. You say, Paul teachers, I don't know what it meant by me writing an A-level exam again. Can you help me with an explanation?
I can a little bit, young man, and that is that again, sometimes you just have to be patient with these experiences. You know, it's like preparing a meal. It's like, okay, so you have, you're going to bake a cake, and so you've put all the ingredients together, you've mixed it up, the batter, you pour it into the pan. Now what do? You put it in the oven? Okay, so there's your experience. You're thinking about the cake, aren't you? So now, but you have to wait till the cake bakes, don't you? You wait till hey, you have to bake it, and you have to wait now. But you don't want to wait. You want it to be now, but you still have to wait, don't you? So when you're having these experiences, if you're not quite sure, give it time. Give it time to see how it comes out and how it makes sense for you here. Because that experience is happening on the real side, we'll say, in other dimensions, other levels, whatever, the real side. And as it comes here, make sense of, watching it. Just like when you plant a seed in the ground, you got to wait till it comes up. You see, so it's the same with the real side experiences. Yes, we do want instant answers, and some of them are that, but some of them you have to wait for. So I've went through this process too, and eventually I figured it out. And I can't figure everything out here because some things will stay on the real side because they're with your real awareness. They're not necessary for the personal part. See, we're trying to drag it all here. Well, we can't drag it all here. We can only take certain parts of it here. You see, so again, we're making more sense of it than just thinking. You see this thinking thing, thinking in so-called spiritual terms. It's like, oh, I'm a member, I'm this, I have my initiation and all this stuff. See, this is all thinking ideas, and this is what we've been taught, just like in the educational system that you're in. This is literalized thought, thinking that, oh, it's all about thinking. And then we really, truly, most people have forgotten this is why the corporation is like they are. They're afraid because they've been taught fear. They've only been taught thinking. And so, but they're thinking that what they're thinking is that's it, that's the ultimate. But they're just considering a very small portion of creation. That's it. And they're already thinking that, well, we know everything, so we don't have to ask Rebus Artars what's new now. It's like, okay, you've already decided your world and your adventure according to you because what you've been told. All right. So again, each one of us is the decider. So it is the razor's edge here. Is it what I'm thinking or is it that it's real or I've been told these things? Again, everything here is a reference and we need creation because it's a very good reference. But at the same time, we need to recognize the difference between thinking and your real awareness. You see, What did they say in the corporation? You know, what do religions tell you? Oh, you have a soul. Okay, so that's like something floating out there somewhere. It's all a mystery. And then Paul says, well, you are soul. Okay. Did that define it? No, didn't define it. It's like now all of a sudden you're soul. So it's like, okay, if I leave my body, I'm soul. Is that it? Basically, that was it. Soul travel. So, uh, and it comes down to, okay, people have a few thrills, and basically Harry is out there telling people, you know, you don't need to really relate to your real side experiences because I'm taking care of all that, you know, or the inner, you know, the master is taking care of all that. So, you know, you just kind of follow along what the corporation owner Joni tells you to do in the guideline book. So that's all you have to do, and then we'll send out the computer initiations, and you can just think your way along with your life, and everything's fine. Well, to most people it is. That's fine. Go for it. That is the one-dimensional part of ourselves. So again, each one of us decides our adventure, and I've always looked at things differently. So that's just how I am. I don't agree with things that really don't make sense, even though to most people they seem to. So it's a choice, isn't it? But what comes out in the long run? There is a bigger picture. And how many do recognize what the sun is demonstrating? Yeah, just that little funny thing that's sitting up in the sky, and who recognizes what it is really demonstrating. And that is a reference to the true reality. And so, again, focus on the isness, and your real awareness will start to become exposed more so than the ideas you're thinking. Yes, it's so cool. So, yes, we're in such a better position, Charles, and we do have that literal side. I have a huge literal side, but I see how it is, and I use ideas. I do the thinking thing too while I'm here, but realistically, you know, anything that comes forward, just like today, it's always a challenge for me, and it's fun. I like it. I love the challenge, and I love the danger, and even being scared. It's like, oh, gee, how am I going to answer this? You know, so the thing is, I don't know what's coming up, and it's fine, but it's always there. It's always there because life is. This is so cool about the isness. It's a pure and true completeness already. So you don't have to add anything to it. You just simply recognize what it is and then utilize that reality according to what's taking place here and make sense the best you can of this distorted cause and effect creation world we're in. You see? Now, this is cause and effect. And so in our minds, we can think, oh, I want this to come out perfect. I want this to come out like this. But guess what? This is cause and effect, and there is no perfection here. There's only this and that's, okay? And you do the best you can, you see? And that's really what it is. So you learn to see what's really going on here. You need that comparison because what has taken place is that because of the thinking process and the considerations and the overall consciousness of this world, people keep thinking that this is the ultimate. And it's not. It's the ultimate mistake, which is more than evident with the world. The know-it-alls have screwed up everything so very well that the whole planet's in a huge demise. So how can this be the ultimate? It would seem as though that life's a huge mistake, but people keep thinking that, oh, well, love will cure this, and, you know, there's going to be a great spiritual awakening, and we're going to have the gathering, and we're going to be taken up by the outer space people, and all these ideas that people are thinking, and where do they go? It all equals just more junk into the overall consciousness of the big mistake that's already been created, thinking that this is going to, in some way, miraculously cure what has already been created. And it's not. It's not at all. It's just adding more nonsense to it. So what we're doing is we're making sense of what doesn't make sense here. So we're having the most fun. Yes, Charles, you're wonderful. Go ahead. So what you're experiencing there, just give it a little time, and you're wonderful. It'll show up, and look what you're doing. But again, Miriam is the best example of everything that's taking place in Africa. Look at her experiences. Look what she's doing. Look what she's done. Go off of that. Use her as an example. She's awesome. Yes, go ahead. Okay, Charles asked basically, about the discussions in the chat groups. It could be the New Start, whatever. And that is that, of course we go through phases. Like in the beginning, people were chatting a lot, asking questions, etc. And this will go in waves. It's like, when I go to the beach, there's not surf every day. All right. And just like in the real universes, the is sometimes still and silent. It's not always doing something, you might say. And so it's so with anything. And that is that, okay, so here's the idea. When I have an idea, whatever it is, I do it. That's what I do. And so it only makes sense that if a person has an idea and they ask the question, well, that is a good idea. That's a good question. Why don't you do it? You see? Why would you be waiting for others to do it? If I sat here and waited for others to write or do something, I would wait forever. So I do it myself. It's a self thing, isn't it? Yes. So if you have the idea, do it yourself. I have always done this since almost the first day I came into this with Paul in this life, okay, into, in the outer works, into the corporation. And most people don't. It's like they sit around and they ask the question, well, gee, why doesn't this happen or why doesn't that happen? Well, it doesn't happen because nobody does it and you're not doing it either. I used to go to some of the X centers. I was always doing things. I was out in the public. I was teaching. I had classes. I did everything. I did fairs. I built booths. I did everything because that's what I wanted to do. It's my adventure. And I would go to these other so-called X centers or whatever, and they just sit around and jabber. That's all they did. And then it was milk and cookie time. And eventually the centers faded away. So people were just dumping money into paying rent, etc. So again, it's the doing, isn't it? See, you got to remind these people, Charles, just like in your classroom. Do the children are they sitting there discussing? Well, who's going to do my homework? Can I find somebody? Teacher, who's going to do my homework? Do they ask you that question? That's kind of funny, isn't it? I don't think they do. Yeah, each person has to do their own homework, don't they? And so if they have an idea how to do it, well, then they do it. But here we are, and many of them adults, they're sitting around asking these questions. Why are you doing that? Does that make sense? I just simply do it. If I have an idea, I've been writing during the Skype, and Ava, she does pictures during the Skype. She listens, but I have to listen very close at the questions and all that. But when you're talking French, I sat here and I had an idea and I write it down. I take notes, etc. This is what I'm doing. I don't wait for others. And so when I have ideas, then I share these. And like with Kelsey and Chris and Claudia and others and George and what have you and Hessam and etc. There's a prime group of us that we share with because these are the active people that have stepped up. And these are the ones that will have the real experiences because they have stepped up. Again, everybody earns their way. So, I've said many times, I'm showing people how to earn their way. They're still thinking in the old ways, thinking that, okay, what's happening next? Who's going to produce this? Oh, what's Duane going to say next? Or what's Charles or Miriam going to say next? Always the waiting thing. No, it's the doing. And you'll be waiting forever and you'll just grow old. So it's the doing thing, Charles. Do, you see? So I laid that out in one of the groups. What was it? Experience, recognition, demonstration. And most people don't get into the recognition or the demonstration part Yes, they do have certain experiences. The experiences are doing the new you, having real side experiences, reading the books, seeing what's going on. They don't get to the part where they start to recognize that they must step up. The real guides are an example. Look what they're doing for you. Now you do it for them. The idea is that I'm sharing Reba's Artars and the real guides to the world. This is what I'm doing for them. I'm keeping them alive here. Joni wants to get rid of them. The world wants to get rid of them. I'm supporting them, you see? That's the idea. So when people take Ava's pictures or Kelsey or whatever, whoever does it, and like Vesna is sharing, what have you, we're supporting them. By the very fact that you mention their name and the new you, you're supporting them. And then you have the courage, just like Miriam, to put the groups together, you see? And now I'm going further than that. I've created all these projects. Now we're creating the university, the Nations United Universal University, which I decided. And Kelsey's having all kinds of real side experiences with the boys. They've already told her they're all complete on the real side, you see, because she's doing it. She's not asking the question, gee, what, where am I? You see? It's doing. Get these people to step up and do. You got an idea? Do it. Do it. It's not asking others to do it. Put it together, make sense of it like anything else. You've went through the process like I have. I've went through as a building contractor and everything, and all that I've went through in the family and raising the child, etc. Just do it like that. That's why we went through that process. I don't see where it makes sense that people are still asking the question about anything because there is so much to do. Why would you even be standing around asking any question at all? Just simply do something. If you don't have food, you don't sit there and ask for food. Start digging in the ground and figure out how to get some seeds or take a leaf off a tree or whatever. Do something. Start planting something because you're just going to grow old and starve, but you can fast for a while. So maybe in 30 or 40 days you'll have food, but you better start digging now and start planting now. You see? Start doing something now. Not tomorrow, not next week. In Mexico, it's mañana. Mañana, mañana. But for me, it's always now. I do it now. I get it done now. That's what I do. Kelsey and Val were talking last night. We were talking about something. I stayed up and did it. 2 days ago, we were talking about, a couple days ago, talking about doing the children's course, new dream course, and I did it. I stayed up and did it. I wrote it till 3, 4 in the morning. So it's doing. See, that's why, my first name is Duane. It's D-U, it's do. I'm here to do it. See, we're here to complete it. So it's doing. So forget all that old stuff. Yeah, we all went through that. People keep looking into the past, thinking that the babysitting days, oh, gee, it was so nice then. All we had to do is do nothing. And it all seemed to work. Well, yeah, just like when you were raised with your parents and you went to high school and they fed you every day. Mom made you lunch and dinner and all these things. Now you got to do it yourself. It's like, oh, gee, do I have to take out the trash? Do I have to make my own dinner? I thought, mothers and women were supposed to do that. When I was married, I vacuumed the house. I cleaned the house. I made the dinners. I did everything. Yeah, plus built the house, built everything, just, did the remodeling. I did everything. The wife, she just went to school back and forth, drove up the same street for 30 years, and she supported her way, but I did everything. Yeah. I didn't see where this is a woman's job. Oh, you do the dishes, you wash the clothes. I did everything. I still do everything. Every little thing. Yeah. And it's cool. I like doing it. But some people have ideas and attitudes, and I don't see where that makes sense. Again, take a look at the world. It's not getting better. People pretend that that they don't have to look at the world. I'd say look at it because you're part of it. And people have tap lines still. They got to figure it out. They've got to get through themselves first. Yeah. So if they want to hang on and create more excuses, that's their choice. I don't see where that's going to work. Because again, the boys cannot drag anybody out of here. So you'll make it to the astral worlds, and guess what? As soon as you go into the astral world from this here, from your old crotchety body, you're going to have the same attitudes because they're you. So it's the school of hard knocks here. You have this opportunity to wake up and take the risk to create something that's awesome for everyone. Have the attitude that it's for everyone, and you're included. You see, if the world had the attitude that everything is for everyone, guess what? It would be. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. But people are more so into agreeing with the deception of rules, regulations, restrictions, religion, politics, spiritual paths, all these funny things that we've gone through. Okay, that's fine. We all wore diapers, but we don't want to stay in diapers. We don't want to stay restricted. It's time to change the diapers. It's time to get real. Yeah, it's a lot more fun. Miss Claudie?
Hi! New you.
We have a new opera star. Before we close here, can we have a, okay, Claudia, actually you're just in time. You put out an experience here. I kind of briefly read through it. I was writing at the same time. Do you want to share that a little bit here with us? Go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you. Um, Last night was really weird vibrations in the area, but nothing, I couldn't figure out what was going on. But this morning, the vision that came through only lasted a millisecond. I just got the very briefest millisecond or view, and but it was clear, and it was I was standing in space wherever it was, and it was all invisible, but you came passing by on the right, and you were like, I'm going to say at least 10,000 feet tall. You were gigantic, and you were bringing all of these little tiny specks of light with you. They were like floating with you. And there was a tree of a shape of a tree in the distance, and it had no leaves, just the branches. And as you approach the tree, the dimensions change. That tree must have been at least 1,000,000 feet tall. It was huge, just big. And you had big arms, and you took all of the little lights and you threw them up on the tree, and they all attached at various places on the branches. And the little lights that were leaves turned into little balls of invisibleness that were covered with little tiny squares of invisibleness. And that was it.
All that from a millisecond.
Yes, it was like that. When you get that kind of, it was so intense, but it was microscopic in length of time. But in being in that instant, you get all of it at 1 minute, at 1 second. I mean, it all comes through, just poof, and it's there. But it's very short, it's very quick, and it's over.
Okay, wow, that's terrific. All right, that's a fun experience. Yes, I wanted to hear your side of it, and I'm sure there's more. I'll talk to you. You're wonderful. Thank you again, Charles. Yes, here comes Africa. Yes, you kids are going to be the center of the world, and everybody else, Charles. So we're just beginning. It's a big adventure. Let's see who steps up and is willing to, you know. Take on the courage to present this to the world, because we are doing it and it's showing up. So, yeah, even though there's just a few of us.